Last time we discussed about desire. Desire is a thought, and thought is equal to any object plus I. You can say I thought or ego or I am, whatever it is. So understanding the desire is desire management. But what happens when I'm 5-year-old? My desire is different. When I'm 15-year-old, my desire is different. 30 years, 40 years, old age, and I'm on the verge of dying. So we should also understand the desire that changes in different stages of life. But then there is another question comes. That what are the instruments that fulfill the desire? It is the body, the mind, and if these instruments are not working properly, then there is no desire fulfillment. Like the body is suffering from a diabetes, and my desire is to eat sugar or dessert. So there is a conflict between the two. Unless we understand the stage of life, proper functioning of the instruments, and the particular desire. So when you align all the three with clear understanding, then there is a desire management, and that desires never create any problem. So that concept has been realized and understood clearly by our great masters. And they use the word ashram, means shelter. Shelter. So at a particular age, you take shelter of a particular desire. What a great concept. Then you don't invite any conflict. And if there is no conflict, the fulfillment is there. So at every stage of life, we select specific desires, integrating with the instruments. What are those instruments? The body, mind, you can say even emotion, intellect, breath, energy. So that ashram or that concept is known as the life of a life that is devoted to education, to knowledge. So what is that knowledge? Knowledge of the self and the non-self. That is very important. So the moment we hear the word knowledge, it means knowledge of the world outside. That will give me a career, career will give me a job, job will give me the wealth, wealth will give me the pleasure. So my mind is constantly seeking desire fulfillment. And as long as the idea, the motivation is desire fulfillment, the problem will be there, because we have not taken into account the instruments. Why the desire fulfillment? Is there any desire fulfillment at all? Just think of it. You have a desire to eat the food of your choice. You fulfill that desire. So there is a 1 unit of that pleasure you receive by eating the food. Sexual desire, another 2nd unit. A kind of clothes that you wear, you buy it, you fulfill your desire, 3rd unit. A kind of a house you buy, 4th unit. You fulfill your desire by having a choice of your car, the 5 units. Now add those 5 units of pleasure that you get. Can that be converted into happiness? We have millions of units of desires fulfilled in our life, in terms of the food, the sexual desire, the choice of the house, the choice of the car, the dress, even small things. Where those pleasures have gone? They are not here. But at the same time, say for the choice of the food, you go on eating the same food again and again. The degree of the pleasure starts decreasing, and the time comes you don't feel any kind of a pleasure eating the same food again and again. Same cloth again and again. Same car again and again. So can we say, is the happiness present in those objects and the people with whom we have fulfilled our desire? Or it is not there? And if it is not there, then I'm in a delusion. And the delusion would lead to suffering. Then what happens? The mind is looking, searching, projecting happiness where it is not. It is very important to understand that aspect. It is not to force the desire to go away from your life. It is much more important to understand if the pleasure is there, if really the happiness is there. Pleasure is definitely there. And that pleasure, the mind says it is in the object. That is the 3rd point. So if it is not in the object, that creates a delusion, and the delusion causes the suffering. So our master says, let us have 4 stages in life. First stage of life should be dedicated to knowledge. So what knowledge? Knowledge of the world outside and knowledge of the self. You see, problem enters into our life when we do not have a right knowledge about ourselves. Who am I? What is this world? What is the existence? And we try to create an understanding of who am I, what is the world, and what is the existence based on the knowledge of the world outside. But the knowledge of the world outside, which is not me, how it can give you the knowledge of who am I? So the first stage is focused on the knowledge of self, knowledge of the world outside, and the knowledge of self. You can say knowledge of what I am and knowledge of what I am not. What I am not? Am I a house? No. Am I a job? No. Am I a wealth? No. Am I the body? No. So that is one type of a knowledge. Yes, we must get it. And the second type of the knowledge that we must get it, who am I? What is my real nature? That is the first stage. Now, once I have a right knowledge about the world outside and I have the right knowledge about who am I, there the real yoga begins. So, the masters have taught us how to enter into a family, professional, social life with a strong foundation of the knowledge of who am I. What is this world that lives inside? And the knowledge of the world outside. Choose any profession. Focus there on the wealth. Earn wealth. Lead a family life or a professional life. Second stage of the life. So the beauty of the word used by these great masters is a shelter. You take shelter in a knowledge. First stage of life. Now you take shelter in a professional, social, family life. Is there any problem earning a wealth? No. But now you have a strong foundation of who am I, knowledge of the self, and you are entering into a profession, so you can easily drop future tension, anxiety, duality, and a conflict. Third stage of the life is of contemplation and reflection. What is that? After all, what I have done, I have used all kinds of pleasures. Those units of pleasure have disappeared. That is why I have changed objects, people, things, home, car, long list. So third stage of the life is reflecting on what I have achieved outside. We all know it. I'm not going there. What I have achieved inside me. I have been running for peace and happiness. In the first stage of the life, if I don't have a right knowledge of who am I, then I'm running for a particular knowledge, a skill set. And why knowledge of the skill set? To get a job. Why to get a job? To earn wealth. Why to earn a wealth? To buy an objects. But why to have those objects? To secure happiness. So such a long journey to secure happiness, why don't you start from the happiness only? Let me be happy. Let me express my happiness in acquiring a knowledge. Let me work in peace and happiness in the family, in the professional and social life inside. Why shouldn't I start from the happiness? So the first result comes from the contemplation and reflection. That hits the intellect and the mind. If the happiness is within me, then why the hell I'm running here and there? After all, we all are seekers of peace and happiness. And the peace and happiness are within me. Why shouldn't I discover that peace and happiness in me and continue working what I'm doing with a focus, with dedication and commitment outside? Playing my role very well. That gives you a deeper insight into the third stage of life, which is life of contemplation and reflection, known as Vanaprastha. In ancient days, those masters used to leave their home, go to the forest for contemplation and reflection and meditation to see what exactly I have done, what needs to be done. Is there any challenges, or I am living in delusion? Can I clear that and return? And the fourth stage of life. Once I have understood the impurities, the anxieties, the dualities, and the conflicts in the first two stages of the life, the fourth stage of the life is all around purification. dropping and dissolving those factors which causes challenges in my life. Through contemplation, through the third stage of the life, we realize I have been insisting on pushing my son to do the what I like. Now I realize his life is totally independent, different from me. I can only suggest. So as a father, as a mother, as a guardian, I should play my role. Do you want to play a role with anxiety and stress, with the force? Answer is no. If you do it, you will enter into stress. That is the beauty of this journey. So in the third stage of the life, again you return and you take shelter into the knowledge that can be applied in life. And in the fourth stage, you purify all around purification of your life, your mind, your intellect, your activities, so that you can enter into the immutable peace, permanent happiness, love and wisdom. So we have 4 stages of life. We have then to understand the desires at each stage in life. I cited an example. You are a diabetic, desire to eat sugar. So it is the body which is an instrument to fulfill the desire, to give you a taste, a pleasure of sweetness. But the body is not ready. Body will fire you back. So desire management is required at every stage in life. Same way. So you see that desires, millions of desires, we need a desire management with reference to the stage in life. Take an example, the child likes candy. Candy gives him the pleasure. So when he becomes over 20, ask him, I will make you happy, here is a candy. And he will tell you, what, Mom? What are you saying, Dad? It doesn't give me any kind of pleasure. So stage. See that the stage of the life in the same object which was giving pleasure, now that object of the pleasure has changed. So we should have a clear understanding of that. The stage of life, the instruments, and desires. Let us talk a little bit about the instruments. Body is an instrument. We have an upward movement of the body and we have a downward movement of the body at different stages. That is what the science says, metabolism. So anabolism maintains, it grows our body in shape and the size with full of energy. Then the age comes from there, the catabolic process, the destructive process moves the body downward. So in the beginning, in the childhood, adolescence, youth, we have a tremendous energy in the body. Even if you do something wrong, the body says, okay, I will manage it. But after a certain time, you do even a slightly wrong to the body says, no way, I'm defeated. I cannot help you. So understand that body, upward movement, downward movement. So downward movement of the body is caused by aging. Upward movement of the body caused by the regular care. regular care, physical activity, rest and relaxation, sound sleep, harmonizing the
Sorry, I don't understand.
waking and the sleeping states, and minimizing the dreaming states. Modern science says we should age gracefully. It means in Eastern wisdom, body experiences complete rest and relaxation at all time. As we aging process begins, the body sleeps less, but we should know how to sleep soundly and deeply. So we minimize the duration of dreaming and heightened state of awareness. How it can happen to manage this body as an instrument? The way the car is managed. It includes right and balanced eating, avoiding extremes, and keeping moderation in every activity, and freedom from any habit, obsession, craving. The best journey of the body begins when we infuse consciousness in the body. That leaves the body young, energetic, rested, and relaxed even when it is easy. That is the beauty of the Eastern wisdom. Now, what is the second instrument? The second instrument is our energy. In Eastern wisdom, we have a concept of energy body, energy layer. We say pranamaya kosha. So that pranamaya kosha, prana is energy. That prana has sub-pranas based on the functioning in the body, like physiology, cardiological functioning of the body, biochemical functioning of the body, excretion, digestion, assimilation. So that perspective has been taken care by the energy body. The downward movement of this energy is caused because body which uses it. What is the state of the body? An upward movement of the energy because mind always lifts the energy based on the right desire. We have a beautiful understanding. First is the physical body, second is the energy, third is the mind. Now, if this energy is allowed by the mind to rise higher and higher, that life will have a beautiful turn. And if the same mind or the energy starts moving down because of the mind, what is the cause in the mind? The craving, the obsession, no desire management, misusing the body will cause the downward movement of the energy. We have two beautiful words, Ram and Kam. Ram means the highest consciousness. Kam means all kinds of desires that causes trouble in our life. That is at the base of the spine. So Ram is on the top, Kam is at the bottom. Same energy is moving upward and downward. So when this energy is moving down, causing delusion, suffering, anxiety, reaction, obsession, and the same energy is moving up, it is causing peace, happiness, love, wisdom. But who moves this energy? Mind. So you see the interdependent of our instruments. Wheels of a car, engine, fuel, brake, steering, all are interdependent. If you don't have a wheel, what is the use of a brake? Same way. Body is the first instrument. Energy, physical body, I mean to say, energy is the second instrument. And the mind is the third instrument. So once we understand it is the energy, that energy cannot move by itself. Minimum level, there are 3 levels of this prana. The lowest level of the energy regulates all the physical activities. We need not to order anything. You eat your food, but you don't ask your mind to direct prana, direct energy to assimilate and digest the food. It happens on its own. You have an urge to go to the restroom, it happens on its own. So that is the first level of the energy. Second level of the energy, where you consciously regulate through the mind. Desire management, wish, desire. What is the stage? Look at this, how the beautiful, you start thinking about it. You start moving in your life with a particular desire at a particular stage in life, with the instrument functioning properly, the life will be beautiful. It is easy to move the energy upward with the right knowledge, right desire, right action. However, there are many ways and methods in Eastern wisdom, with reference to one principle discovered by our great masters. Now see, wrong desire means with reference to a particular stage in life and the instrument functioning. If there is a wrong desire in the mind supported by fully busy, anger, anxiety, reaction, obsession, blame, complaint, what will happen? It will move the energy into the lower center. You will remain stressed and suffering continuously. Let us talk a little bit of the third instrument, that is the mind. The upward movement of the mind is caused because of understanding, clarity, learning from experiences, and the downward movement because of continuity of the desires converted into craving, obsession, possession, leaves the mind undeveloped. Mind is not giving you the problem as such. It is the undeveloped mind. What is the undeveloped mind? The mind is not able to understand and create a harmony of the desire, instrument, and the stage of life. So mind is not responding rightly and properly in a particular stage in life. That causes a lot of problems in life. So in our text, in our teachings, it is said that the mind is of 2 types. We have covered that before. Impure and the pure mind. The impure mind contains the wrong desire, the binding desire, guided by the ignorance and the delusion, constantly projects the happiness outside in the world. And that causes a lot of problems. The pure mind is devoid of such desires. And the desires are regulated depending on the stage of the life. That is one way to understand the mind is an instrument. The highest way to understand what is the mind is the cause of suffering and the mind is the cause of happiness. So it means what? If I use the mind, if I make the mind my servant and direct it for higher and higher awakening, to discover the inner peace and happiness, that mind is the helper. So how the mind can become the helper? If I work on the mind. And how the mind uses me, that causes stress and suffering. 2 options. Either the mind working on me or I am working on the mind. When I am working on the mind, I am the master of the mind. I can redirect. And if the mind is working on me, the mind has to guide us towards pleasure seeking. It will take us to delusion. It will start blaming, complaining, reacting to the things outside. So we have understood three instruments: the body, the mind, the energy, and the fourth instrument is intellect. Are you thinking? Yes. Alternating thoughts, it is the mind. But in the same mind, if I recall something from the past, so it is another functioning of the mind that is known as memory. Do you know me? Yes. From the memory. Do I know where your house is located? Yes. Memory. So the two functioning of the mind and memory. Now when the thoughts are alternating, the third factor comes which says, no, choose this. This is right. And when the moment you choose a particular thought, drop the alternating thinking, that becomes an intellect. But who chooses? There is an I thought, ego. So we have four functioning of the mind as such. Mind, memory, one pair. Intellect and the ego is the other pair. So we are talking of the intellect. So it happens now there is a struggle between the mind and the intellect. The mind processes all the information along with likes and dislikes, pain and the pleasure. Now if the mind is craving for something and it dominates the intellect, then we suffer. So that is why the mind needs to be purified. And if the intellect takes over the mind, intellect says, hold on, what is that desire? Why you like? Why you dislike? Let me understand. And let me help you follow what is right and good. That is, the intellect is a right instrument. The moment you live in a waking state, you have the intellect at your service all the time, whether you use it or not. The intellect as an instrument. The intellect makes a right choice. What is the right choice? What is right and good? And it demands from the mind to follow. The mind, you are sitting with your friend and the mind is upset. You want to react, you want to be angry. Now if the intellect takes a right decision, then what happens? Intellect says, hold on. Why you want to react? So the mind says, I want to react because he doesn't agree what I like. The intellect says, is any reason why you want to force the guy to agree with you? In the world, everyone is independent. The mind pushes you again. I hate this guy. The intellect is asking why you hate, why you are disturbing yourself. You see that intellect should be put into the service to reach to a conclusion what is right and good. That is the utility of the intellect. Then comes the now, once we have understood these four instruments, it is important now, my friend, that two sets of desire should continue until death. First is the knowledge of the self. Second is the contemplation and reflection to allow the mind to settle in the principles of self-discovery. Two sets of desire. Means I will continue to listen to the teachings and the principles of the Eastern wisdom that leads me to self-discovery. Why? Self-discovery brings an end to all kinds of suffering, and it awakens to permanent peace and happiness. I am a human being, and the human being is a seeker of peace and happiness. See that? That is why continuously listening to the prince. But why? I have heard it once, I know it. No, the mind by default is exposed to the world outside, and if these principles are not present in the mind is hijacked by the pleasure, pain, blame, complaint, reaction, duality, because mind by default says that everything is outside. All pleasures are outside. So because of its obsession, if we do not listen, learn the principles, practice daily, the same mind will take over and it will drop the practice. You have seen in your life, your son. So it is extremely important we continue to listen and learn these principles, which is known as a satsang. The word satsang literally means company of the master, who is well versed with the teachings, and you are listening. So he personalizes the teaching and awakens your mind. And once you are awakened, then you don't need that. The second desire that we should continue, we have to think over it, contemplate and reflect to allow the mind to settle in these principles. If we do not do it, then nothing happens. Let us understand the four groups of desires. We have understood the four stages of life. We have understood the four instruments. Now let us understand the four groups. Can we categorize and put the desires into different groups? The answer is yes. So, can we say that every human being has four groups of desires? The answer is yes. Does every human being works on the four groups of desires? The answer is also yes. Then why we need a teacher? And why we need to learn the Eastern wisdom? So first understand the four groups of desires. First group of desire is knowledge. Without knowledge, I cannot have desire. Without desire, I cannot put my life into action to fulfill that desire. So the first group of the desire, you may say knowledge. I should know. Curiosity in the childhood. Purushartha. First group of the desires you can put under kama, means the desire for pleasure outside, for anything. So that desire mostly is fulfilled in the family, professionals, social life, supported by the second group of the desire, the wealth and the possession. Desire fulfillment. You see the desire fulfillment. I like pasta, so I eat pasta for my pleasure. It's purely a self-centered. I wear a dress, self-centered. So that is the lowest form of the desire. Desire happiness. So when any desire that is exclusively fulfilling my pleasure, it is purely lowest form of the desire. I become self-centered. Gradually I grow older. I learn some skill sets. I am employed or I employ people. So whether I am employed, I am contributing my knowledge, my skill sets in that organization, which gives me a satisfaction inside and the wealth as a reward outside. So now see that very nature of the mind, which is totally self-centered in the lowest form of the desire, has expanded. It gives me a satisfaction that I am contributing to an organization, or if I am an employer, I am contributing to the welfare of the people. You know, the mind undergoes an expansion. So when we continue to live with the lowest form of the desire, which is totally self-centered, it causes problems in life. The mind must move on. So second is satisfaction, happiness. I get happiness. I'm satisfied because mind has expanded. So as we continue in our life, the third group of desire, the value happiness. You want to help someone without expecting anything. You donate. You put your service for some good cause. Value, you give your mind a value to secure happiness, a greater happiness. So the lowest desire happiness, satisfaction happiness. Satisfaction happiness is greater than the desire happiness, which is purely self-centered. In satisfaction happiness, your mind expands, it expands. And in value happiness, the mind further expands. Now there is no expectation. You have the resources, you want to put your service physically, mentally, emotionally, with wealth, charity, value, happiness. You know, that is why you see that many people go to the church or the temple for a service, for a prayer. It gives them a momentary value happiness. Because then what happens, they do not recognize the importance of the value happiness. Once they come out of the church, they become the same person again. That is why the Eastern wisdom guides us. Understand the 3 stages. So if I continue to live with the value happiness while doing all my professional activities, the life is balanced. Analyze. What is your stage? Analyze and understand. Where is the level of your instruments that are working? Are they working fine? The body, the energy, the mind and the intellect, and what kind of a desire I should have. Sorry. So once we have value happiness, but still I don't get the permanent happiness in my life. Why? You have donated some money to me and I backfire you. I say I hate you, so your value happiness disappears. Your blame and complaint returns again, and your mind says, you see, I have helped this guy so much. Maybe your son. Example. So whatever the happiness that we get, we receive from the world outside. Where's the sexual desire? Totally selfish. Or eating a pasta, for example. Satisfaction, happiness, I'm working for my organization. Value, happiness, I have contributed so much to the society, and in return I don't get anything. Fall, failure and frustration. So all these desires are being fulfilled for the sake of happiness outside. I cannot reach to the permanent state of peace and happiness. Why? Happiness is not there outside. I eat pasta. Do you experience the happiness in a plate? Or do you experience as if the happiness is in the pasta? Or do you experience the happiness in your mind? So the location where I experience the happiness is inside me. It is inside me. For any pleasure, we feel this object has given me the pleasure. But the fact remains, I experience happiness inside. I experience the pleasure inside. Problem is that I see the object in front of me. I see the object in front of me and I make an opinion. I understand as if this object contains that happiness. It is not. Because I feel the object contains the happiness which is in front of me or which is in my possession is a delusion, our master says. Summary is that all pleasure, happiness coming from a contact with a person, with a thing, with an object outside cannot lead me to a permanent happiness. The fourth desire is self-fulfillment. Once I discover my true nature, the moment I discover my true nature, I find the happiness is inside. Permanent happiness is inside. Permanent peace is inside. Love is inside. So, masters say it is a pure consciousness. What is pure consciousness? It is a state of being. What is the state of being? It is my real nature. What is my real nature? Who am I? Who truly I am? I am the body. 99% of the people feel I am the body. But body is an instrument. But when I feel I am the body, I become the father, mother, son, daughter, employer, employee, 100 of labels. Now you are a mother, and if the son says something, reacts, you get upset. You don't get upset. Mother, label mother gets upset. Why? Because first you identified with the body, and the body identified with being a mother, and that mother is upset. Mother is not present in the women. First you are a woman, then you are a mother. And behind that woman, you are a true nature. You are a pure consciousness. That is what we need to realize. We need to work on it. You are an employer. You helped an employee. You paid the employee much more than he deserves. The next day he comes, I'm leaving you. That is going to happen. That has to happen. So what is the point? Let me do what is right and good. The person is skillful. Person is mindful. He is your employee. Find out what is right and good. Don't get carried away by emotions and attachment. Why you get carried away by emotion and attachment? You want a value happiness. Let me help this guy. So there are two kinds of people, the one kind of people demonstrate how humble they are to get the things done. Intention is different in the mind. And other people by default they are humble. Their nature is being humble. So one becomes humble, demonstrates the humility to get the things done. So where his desires are there, lowest level. So what I have to do? I have to do what is right and good. Why I have to do what is right and good? First thing, to keep these instruments working properly. Second thing, not to get carried away by the delusion. Third, when I'm doing right and good, my mind is pure, my intellect is clear, I can continue the path of self-discovery, and I can reach to the state of permanent peace and happiness in life. Think of it. Think, what summarizing? 4 groups of desires, 4 stages of life, 4 instruments. So all the 4 instruments, the body, energy, mind and intellect. Mind means the feeling and emotion, etc., etc., and the intellect means clarity of knowledge. 4 stages of the life of the knowledge, life of family, professional and social life, life of contemplation and reflection, and life that puts all around purification. Everything is pure within me, and then I'm ready to take adventure into the journey of the self-discovery. That helps us to achieve the highest state of meditation. So what happens in the highest state of meditation? Here in the meditation, the knowledge of the reality reveals. It will reveal on its own. It will show you that here is your true nature. And then once you open your eyes, you start living your life. You start working through that real self, using the mind as an instrument. Now, the mind using the ego to claim this is what I am is the greatest of all the delusions. Where there is I, there is a bondage and suffering. Where there is no I, there the real self takes over.